Hello and welcome to Sport for Business. Today's daily interview is with John Cleary. John is the founder and the boss of Eventmaster, an organisation down in Limerick, which has got a lot of activity going on in the return to activity. You've been credited as being one of the key parts in athletics, for one, being able to come back and put on events again to get people active. Tell us a little bit about the path over the last few months towards getting that done, John.
Yeah, okay. So obviously, look, it was a very challenging time for everybody, and athletics is no different. So we partnered with Athletics Ireland, the governing body, and in a number of different aspects of the return to activity. So initially we, as a lot of the events were starting to be cancelled and looking for a model to engage their audience, and we developed a number of different functions and functionality around the whole area of virtual events. So virtual events presented new challenges, I suppose. By way of example, the whole area of how to present an event, how someone will collect for instance, their medal, their T-shirt in a virtual capacity. So obviously areas such as postage come into play, and then with regard to things like postage, your postage costs, whether you're within the island of Ireland or outside of Ireland. So we had to factor all that into our pricing for people as they registered. We also developed some modules for allowing people to upload their times to show that they've completed the event. So in the simplest example, they'd upload a time and it would be accepted. But then we added additional functionality to allow people to put up time and put validation with the time, such as a Strava link or a Map My Run link or a photograph of them crossing a virtual finish line. And we created a virtual leaderboard, which was couldn't be linked into the promoter's website. So a lot of the promoters use that, and we have lots of events now in a virtual capacity, and you know, it's not the same. Of course, it's not the same, but it really helped bridge that gap. So Athletics Ireland have the Irish Runner Series, where they have 4 or 5 events that we bundled together. And obviously they couldn't run those in a physical capacity, so we were able to release those for Athletics Ireland in a virtual capacity, which allowed them to engage their audience, obviously generate revenue, of course, which is very important, but also just keep the connection going. And then as the sanctions started to lift and we started to go through the different phases of COVID, the return to activity protocols and COVID tracing became quite important. And Athletics Ireland asked us, you know, could we look at developing some kind of a tracing app for them? So we also look after all their membership, and we have about 65,000 members on their membership system. We have a couple of different membership systems, but we have one for Athletics Ireland. And so we were able to engage we have about 350, 360 clubs for Athletics Ireland on our system, and we were able to reach out to each of those clubs, each of the administrators, the secretaries, the coaches, etc. And through the app, people were able to register that they're going to attend a training session. We asked them to put in simple things like contact details, etc., how many people will be in their party. And with that information, then Athletics Ireland are able to contact trace if they need to, and also able to keep some level of control mechanisms around who's participating, you know, what are their contact details, when are they participating, etc., and so forth. So it gets into a lot more detail than that, but that's the simplest version of it. And it's been received very well, and there's been thousands of users of it, to be honest with you. So it seems to be working okay at the moment.
Do you do all of the development yourself in-house on the apps? Because obviously there's an awful lot to go into in a very short space of time, and what you would normally give yourself by way of testing and everything else is probably quite foreshortened.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, we do all our own development. We own all our own software, and to be honest, the COVID tracing app was, you know, we did it as a simple, you know, as a kind of a standalone module, but because we look after all our membership systems for, in this case, Athletics Ireland as well, it was very easy for us to validate when someone was logging onto the system that they were who they said they were. So for instance, they put in their email address, they put in their club, they put in their date of birth, and we could quickly establish that they were who they said they were, which is of course critical from a point of view of contact tracing, that we have some level of integrity over the data that we're collecting. So yeah, we developed it all ourselves, and then, because it worked, because Athletics Ireland were quite happy with it, we were asked by Cycling Ireland. They have about, I don't know, 25,000-30,000 members, and we look after the membership for them. They asked us, would we develop something similar, not quite the same, but something similar. So we did, and again, that's been used. So between those examples, I suppose north of 100,000 people are using, and it's working fine,
Okay, and also in terms of getting people out and active again, were there any speed bumps along the way? Were there any things that you found that that had you up scratching your head late at night, just trying to figure out how to unpick a knot?
I suppose from my point of view, we probably it's the classic Pareto analysis rule for a lot of our development. Someone comes to you and says, can you do X, Y, or Z? And that's probably going to happen 90% of the time. And that probably takes 10% of the effort, to tell you the truth. We spend 90% of our time figuring out the 10% of scenarios that people don't even think about and say, oh, that'll never happen. Don't worry about that. But these are the scenarios that you have to work through, and there are those out there. So, for instance, when we got into the Cycling Ireland aspect of it, we wanted to do more functionality. To be honest, we wanted to make the app in this instance a lot more rule based. Okay, which would kind of we could stand over a lot of the information a lot more. So, for instance, if a club, for instance, was training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but not Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we didn't want those club times to be produced up in the system. But of course, then we would need 350, 360 clubs logging into the system, taking responsibility for making sure that their data was accurate. And then you ask yourself, do you lose the fundamental functionality of contact tracing by going further into the administration? So we kind of stayed at a high level. When we started doing the Cycling Ireland COVID tracing app, again, we look after their membership and their events, but so we have all their database. They had a number of BMX tracks which had a constraint on the resource. So, for instance, only so many people could attend a BMX track. I think there's 9 of them in the country. And we had to set up resource constraining schedules. So, for instance, the track was only open, for instance, on Monday from 10 a.m. to 3 o'clock in the day, and there's no point booking it at 6 o'clock in the evening if it's not open, and things like that. And we found initially when we released that module of the COVID tracing app, that people were booking slots for a month ahead of time. And of course, we would never have envisaged that. No one had envisaged it, but of course, I suppose people do what they do, and so what we had to do then was step it back to say, look, we're only going to give you a horizon, let's say, of maybe a week or 2 or 3 days, and just gradually push out the horizon for 4, 5, 7 days at a time, as opposed to 2 months at a time or a month at a time, where people were just booking slots and blocking it up for everybody else. So I can see why they were doing it. Again, you mentioned it was things we hadn't considered. That's probably an example of that.
And tell me something before I let you go. The whole area of GDPR was very high profile over recent years, and it's come to the fore almost as a blocker on some of the initiatives that have been going out there. Has it been an issue, or is it something that has become so rooted now that you just have to find a way to work within the constraints it provides?
Yeah, listen, I suppose GDPR is we deal with data for all the events we look after every day of the week, and I would always be extremely conservative in how we use data. And some of the previous commentary I would have referenced there is validating people before they enter a system. So because we we administer and manage the membership systems for the organisations I referenced there. It gave us a unique position to be able to validate that they were who they said they were. And then from that point forward, we're a lot more confident about who we're dealing with. But the whole area with GDPR, the storage, the management of data, I suppose, look, there's governance in place for that, and we, that's what we do every day of the week. So it wasn't a new stretch for us, but nonetheless, you need to be aware of it and how it's handled from there. So I wouldn't. It wasn't exactly a hurdle for us for these. But it's just part of the constraints we work around on a day-to-day basis anyway. And to be honest, I think they should be there, because I think anything regarding personal data is really critical. It should be managed well. So that's part of what we do on a day-to-day basis anyways.
Great. Well, thanks very much for taking the time out this morning. Well done on helping us to get people back active and sporty in this new world of post-pandemic, hopefully post-pandemic. Thanks very much to John Cleary from Eventmaster.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, John, that's great. I'll have that up on the site now tomorrow morning. So I'll send you a link through.
Tell me this, that I have you on the phone. Would you recommend,